Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai yivarech et amo. Vashalom. Adonai yivarech et amo. Vashalom. Vashalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai yivarech et amo. Thank you. And let's brighten things up a little bit with the next song. How about a contemporary version of Shalom Aleichem, page 627, I believe. This is one that was written by, I think, and recorded by a singer named Sheldon Lowe. And it goes like this. Get out your shakers. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hashari Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hashari Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chorus. Shalom Aleichem Malachei HaShari Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem Malachei HaShari Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeichem leShalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem Malachei HaShari Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once more. Shalom Aleichem Malachei HaShari Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Melech Malchei Hamalakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're next?
You're next.
Another song?
Sure.
Oh my goodness.
Who wants another
All
song
right.
right now?
Okay.
By popular demand.
All right. How about one that we always enjoy doing? Goes under the name of Hallelu, also known as Kol Hanshama, page 643. In your Sidurim. Sidurim, is that a good plural for Sidurs?
Yeah.
All right. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody,
Shabbat Shalom.
and welcome to the extended Snyder family, who are beginning the bat mitzvah process with us this evening, and I'm so excited about Eden's bat mitzvah. And I would now like to invite Eden and Sam and any cousins who want to join her to come on up and open the doors of the Ark and the Ark curtain. Please rise. Please be seated. And before we continue, I just wanted to, since we've got a really nice sized group here, to just remind everybody about how we begin all of our services here at the temple by doing the ritual turning off of the cell phones. So please either turn your cell phones off completely or put them on mute. And if you need to be on the phone, please feel free to go all the way outside. Mindy will show you the way. So with that, we're going to continue by lighting the Shabbat candles on pages 120 and 121. I'd like to invite Jen and Eden to come on up and light the candles for us this evening.
As the Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness remind us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzvanu lahadlikner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen, amen,
now that we've lit the lights of Shabbat, we're going to continue our service on page 138 by welcoming the Shabbat bride with the singing of Lecha Dodi.
Feel free to shake with this one as well. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishniyanu el hamnucha. Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Kiva Ore, Umi, Ori, Uri, Uri, Shida Beheri, Kibod Adonai, Alayich Nigla. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Last verse. Boi v'shalom, Ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha, Uv'zahola, Toh emuneh, Am segula, Boi v'shala, Boi v'shala, Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. B'nei Shabbat Nikabela.
And that concludes the first section of our Shabbat service, the Kabbalat Shabbat, or welcoming of Shabbat. And we're now going to continue with the second section called the Shema Uvirchoteha, the Shema and its blessings, which you may find on page 146 with the Baruch Hu. Please rise in body or spirit. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed.
Page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvitfuna mishane itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Top of 149 together. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu bishachvenu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu be'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla v'ahavatcha al tahasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael
Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Page 152 and 153. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. Please join me as we chant the V'ahavta on the next page, page 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'vetecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot ben enecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot betecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי V'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiyot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Together, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God, Adonai Elohechem Emeth. Now we continue on page 158 with the singing of Mi Chamocha, the song the Israelites sang when they crossed the Red Sea to freedom from Pharaoh's grip. Get your shakers ready.
Shakers. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh pele, Nora tehilot oseh pele, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam. Ve'eli anu v'yamaru, ve'eli anu v'yamaru. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed.
And we continue on page 160 with the Hashkivenu prayer. The Hashkivenu prayer implores we ask God to create a shelter of peace over us and over all our people Israel and really over the world. And on this Shabbat, we think about how our country really needs to have a shelter of peace spread over it, as well as we think of the people in Ukraine who need a special shelter of peace, and as well as many, many others around the world. So we continue with the singing of Hashkivenu 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ushmor Tzeteinu L'chaim ul'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Now we're going to continue with the next section of our service, the tefillah on page 164. Please rise.
Anananananana Adonai. Anananananana Sfatai Tivta. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Anananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tivta. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tivta. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tivta. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tivta. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
Page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zoher Hastei Avot ve'Imochot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nechem, Lema'an Shemo Ba'achava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagain, Baruch atah Adonai Magain Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 168.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav L'Choshia, Mechakel Hayim B'Chesed, Mechaye Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asarim, Kayem Amunato Lishanei Afar, Mi Hamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umi Domech Lach Melech Mamit, Chayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'chachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye hakol.
Page 170.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated.
And we now continue with the singing of Shalom Rav, a song for peace, on page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We read together on the top of page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. I'll continue with the Misha Beirach, Get Well prayer on page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. This evening we think in particular of Agnes Bales and Michael Nussbaum. And at this time we also think of all of those who are suffering with COVID in our congregation, in our community, in our country, and around the world. We think of all of those in Ukraine who are suffering from this horrible war. And we think of all of us in our country who are dealing emotionally with the issues which we've been hearing about in the news the past day or two. And at this time, if there are those others you would like us to keep in our hearts and our minds, we prepare to recite the Misha Beirach prayer. You may say their names aloud or in your hearts as I look across the room.
Cheryl Safeway, and Lynn Baker.
Charles Rubovitz.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send all of us a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen.
Misha Avotinu Mikor Habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And now God commands us on Shabbat to not only think about those who are in need of healing, but also to express our joy and our gratitude for all of our many blessings. And so as we prepare to sing the Shehechianu prayer for enabling us to reach this moment, it's our opportunity to say personally about things which we're grateful for or blessings that we felt during this past week. So I'll start off. It's a blessing for me that Eden is going to have her bat mitzvah tomorrow. It's a very special weekend. It's a blessing, and I'm grateful for our whole temple board, many of you who are here this evening who have made our congregation such a wonderful, caring, supportive place to be, and for all that each of you have done for all of us, and I'll say more about that later. And I'll send it out there to any one of you who has a specific reason that you are grateful this evening or feel blessed. Jen.
I'm grateful for Eden's bat mitzvah and also grateful that our families are all gathering. Some of us for 2 years we haven't been together, but the bat mitzvah is bringing us all together to celebrate the bat mitzvah.
So Jen is grateful that not only for Eden's bat mitzvah, but that has brought her whole family together after 2 years. I forgot to add 2 things. First of all, I'm blessed that for the first time in 2.5 years, I've been able to sit in my seat, which I could never sit in even when we've been live streaming this, because I'm also grateful to Wayne and Jason back there for live streaming the service. That gives us a lot more flexibility. And I'm also grateful that Andy is sitting in the president's seat for, I think, the first time in his presidency. Other reasons why we're grateful.
I'm grateful that our son Sam has graduated from high school in the ceremony. I think it was a week ago tonight, and he's now making all sorts of arrangements with the college that he's going to, UMass Amherst, and working out his schedule and courses and all sorts of things. So.
Great. Rhea.
I'm grateful to be Eden's friend and to be here to celebrate her bat mitzvah.
Rhea is grateful to be Eden's friend and to be here to celebrate her bat mitzvah with her. And we're also grateful to Rhea for having a wonderful, amazing bat mitzvah last week. So mazel tov to you. Fran.
I am grateful that my daughter and son-in-law are finally recovering from a bad bout of COVID. My grandbaby had just, fortunately, for 36 hours, but her parents had a rough time. And they should be on schedule to move back to Massachusetts, and they're moving in with me by the end of the month. I'm very excited and happy about that.
So Fran is grateful.
Our top story tonight.
Fran is grateful that her daughter and son-in-law are finally recovering from a bad bout of COVID, and that her granddaughter only had her for a short time, and she's grateful that they're on track to move back in with her at the end of the month. Did I get it all?
Sure.
Okay. So for all those reasons and more, one more, Meg.
Yeah. I'm grateful that Ben and I are celebrating our 32nd wedding anniversary today.
Yes, we are. You
Meg is grateful that she and Ben, who did not mention the fact that they are celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary today. Happy anniversary, Meg.
32nd and last. I bet you thought I was going to say that when I did.
Oh, Wayne.
I'm grateful too.
I am grateful that tomorrow I'll be celebrating my 32nd wedding anniversary.
Oh.
Wow, Wayne is celebrating his 32nd anniversary tomorrow also, and Wayne, the husband in the family, remembered that it was his anniversary.
But he was reminded.
So for all those reasons and more, we sing the Shehechianu prayer.
My excuse is that we couldn't celebrate it today because of our service here.
You're right,
We'll celebrate it tomorrow.
That's definitely the reason.
That's the reason. Please join me in the singing of a contemporary version of the Shehechianu prayer. Amen. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We pause for a moment of silent prayer.
And now please turn back in your prayer books to page 180 and join us in the singing of Oseh Shalom at the bottom of the page. Oseh Shalom bimroma uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
In this week's Torah portion, Naso, God tells Moses to continue taking a census of the Levite families. God commands Moses to explain to each segment of the community what role they will play in physically transporting the tabernacle from one location to the next. It was only because each Levite took on a specific portion of the responsibility that the ark safely survived its journey through the desert to the Holy Land. Our synagogue community only survives each leg of its journey through the years because individuals take on specific responsibilities for carrying out the goals and objectives and values of our congregation. So it is appropriate on this Shabbat, when we read about the Levites standing up to be counted, that you are here to stand and say, Hineni, I am here and ready to do what must be done. So we begin this evening by thanking those whose leadership of the past year has brought us to this point along our journey. It has been your courage to make decisions, your insights into our communal needs, your commitment to our continued existence, which has enabled our temple to flourish. So not everybody is here to receive the words which you are going to say to them, but because we're recording this, hopefully everybody on the board will be able to hear. And also, one additional disclaimer, I always mess up each year by forgetting to install or uninstall somebody, so I apologize in advance. So first, I would like to invite up Ellen Finkelman to come up and speak about Phyllis Neufeld, who is not continuing as a member at large.
Phyllis, thank you for serving on the board as a member at large for this past year to represent the Social Justice Committee. You have done a great job to lead this committee, one of the largest and most active committees in the Temple. The Social Justice Committee has really come alive and blossomed under your leadership. You have done such a good job. The committee has now become an official committee in the bylaws. As your reward, you have now been named as chair of the committee. We all look forward to a further continuation of its activities under your leadership.
I would now like to invite Val Jacobs to come on up and speak about Gail Wolf, outgoing sisterhood coordinator.
Gail, thank you for serving as the sisterhood representative on the board for the past several years, as well as being a constant supporter of the mission of sisterhood. Your commitment to sisterhood, as well as to the entire Temple Shalom Emeth community, is greatly appreciated. During COVID, sisterhood has gathered several times over Zoom. We have enjoyed cooking classes hosted by Ellen, as well as a few Zoom gatherings to catch up with friends. Gail, as we look forward to a time when sisterhood's gatherings will not be limited to Zoom, we know that you will be part of that sunnier chapter in sisterhood's future. The board's responsibilities are broad in terms of topics for discussion, as we are always working towards the continual growth of our community. Whether we are discussing hiring a religious school teacher, renting the social hall, our projected budget, or any of our countless other discussions, Gail has always been an active participant with valued contributions in our board discussions. Gail, thank you for your belief and dedication to sisterhood and for your valuable contributions to the board.
Now I'd like to call on Hal Torman to thank Michael Singer, outgoing recording secretary. Michael, please rise.
2 years in a row I've had the pleasure of doing this. Let me get this. So let's get this going the right way. Michael, the temple is fortunate to have a history recorder as skillful as you. For those lucky enough to attend board and general meetings, you witness Michael's knack for taking rambling conversation and putting it into clearly understood minutes. We are particularly grateful for Michael's expertise in clearly drafting motions for vote in the Zoom chat box. Besides his expert minute-taking ability, Michael also serves as parliamentarian at our meetings, ensuring we all abide by our bylaws and governing principles. And finally, Michael's third hat, in his role as Brotherhood Chair, well, what's there to say? He herds cats and he tries his darndest to bring men of the temple together for social events and temple improvement projects. So whether he's note-taking, law enforcing, or organizing events, Michael does it all with great attitude and with the temple's best interests at heart. We thank you for your many years of service and look forward to many more because our bylaws now allow that. Thank you.
Mazel tov, Michael. And I'd now like to invite Meg Silver to come on up to thank Howard Eichenbaum, outgoing chair of the LJL Lifelong Jewish Learning Committee. Howard, please arise.
Howard, I would love to thank you for your service as LJL Chair Lifelong Jewish Learning. Hosting monthly Torah food and schmooze sessions, which due to time I've never been able to come to or Zoom into, and having great programs during the year for learning about Jewish holidays or other customs, and bringing in people like Ben Einsider, or occasionally our Cantorial Soloist Ben Silver come in, and really have learned a lot from those. And I really appreciate that, and helps all our learning to grow. Appreciate your service that you've done for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. And now I'd like to call on Jen Snyder to come up to thank Karen Eichenbaum, outgoing co-chair of the Religious School Committee. Karen, please rise.
It has been wonderful to work by Karen's side as co-chair on the Religious School Committee. We needed to be especially creative when the school moved from in-person learning to remote learning and then back to in-person learning this year, so we could still provide students with an enriched Jewish education. Karen originally helped to create our TSE in a box. Every month we needed to come up with new ways to bring the Jewish holidays to the students, including plant your own parsley plant and make a Seder plate. Karen helped make sure COVID protocols were in place when students returned, so everyone had a safe learning environment. Karen is not only creative and resourceful, but she always has your back. Thank you, Karen, for a great year.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. And now is the time to install next year's leaders. You'll be the ones to bless us in the year ahead with your skills and commitment. So first I'd like to invite Howard Eichenbaum, Turnabout is Fair Play, to come up and speak about Meg Silver, who's continuing chair of the Cemetery Commission. Meg, please rise.
Thank you. So Meg, I know you've been on the Cemetery Committee for a while, and it's a vital role that the temple does provide for people going through the difficult time. And I know you've been very active in making sure that the plots are well maintained. People need plots. You're a source for them. So I think it's not known what you do. Thankfully for most people, it's not known what you do. But when that time comes, that it's very important that you're there to be a resource. Also, I'd like to mention that it's you're on the board, so I've been on many board meetings with you, and I've always appreciated your comments on the board on many different issues, in addition to just the cemetery issues. So I know you're a vital person to come to the board meeting. So we appreciate all that you do for the temple, and I'm glad to hear that you'll be continuing to both be head of the cemetery committee and also on the board. So.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mazel tov, Meg, you are officially reinstalled. When we now turn to those who are continuing in their roles as members at large, Heidi Mover, will you please come up to speak about Shella Haron?
I've been serving with Shella as a member at large during the last couple of board terms. We depended heavily on her legal expertise as well as her genius for making legal terminology and concepts comprehensible to those of us without legal backgrounds. This has been especially true as we attempted to navigate the daily minutiae of how to keep our synagogue functional despite the ongoing pandemic. Shella has led us through the thicket of what-ifs and potential complications that arose each time the board discussed rental agreements, service arrangements with contractors, and how to accommodate congregation members in celebrating each of the Jewish holidays. This year, especially with vaccines and boosters on the scene, but pitted against the steady emergence of new variants, there have been a lot of moving parts. If anything, there has been even more uncertainty. Closed are open, indoors are out, how many? And so I've gained even more appreciation for how surely and how rapidly she can wrangle each new twist that COVID throws at us and keep our priorities on track to deal with the issue of the moment.
Just want you to stay up here for a second. And because I am going to read what Shella wrote about you. Heidi Mover has been serving as member at large this past year. Heidi, thank you for your service to the board and to the temple as a whole. You have brought your knowledge and professional acumen to some complex issues as we have worked to keep the congregation functioning smoothly during these unprecedented times. Just in the past couple of months alone, your health expertise and familiarity with medical best practices have been invaluable in figuring out how we could best support families celebrating bar mitzvahs while keeping everyone safe. Your many contributions have helped keep our temple thriving and are greatly appreciated. And I wanted to add my thanks for all the work that you've done with security and all the times that you've been outside helping us be safe in our congregation. So Mazel Tov, you are reinstalled.
Darn.
Safely, you are safely reinstalled. And Jeff Goldberg, who's not here, is going to join your ranks as our third member at large. Jeff has been a very long-time Temple member, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of great perspective to add to our board meetings. So Mazel Tov to Jeff, wherever you are. You are all officially reinstalled as members at large. And now I'd like to officially install our new Social Justice Chair, Phyllis Neufeld. And Ellen already stole pretty much everything I was going to say. Phyllis is the very first one to hold this board position, which was just approved as part of our revised bylaws earlier this week. As the chair of our Social Justice Committee since its founding in 2017, by far the largest committee in the Temple, which has had such an impact on our congregation and community at large, it makes perfect sense that you will be the official presence on the board. This will enable you to communicate all the good work which this committee does to our board on a regular basis. Thanks so much for all you have done and continue to do, furthering the goal of Tikkun Olam, helping our congregation do the mitzvot of helping to repair the world. Mazel Tov, you are installed. Andy Feit, will you please come over to speak about our continuing, or over there, doesn't matter?
I'll come over.
Okay. To speak about our continuing overachieving Temple fundraising Vice President Fran Bloomfield. Please rise.
We actually, one of the changes in the bylaws was to end term limits forever, because Fran's been doing this for well beyond the official 4-term limit. But it was a very difficult year to do fundraising. A lot of the events that we usually hold, whether it's Hanukkah parties and Purim festivals and things that we use to raise money, were no longer in person. So live funding at the coffee house, all kinds of things became impossible. As they were the year before. Script became a little different. Fran, hollering which scripts were available over Zoom calls and telling people she'd send them script if they sent her money. But
Gift cards, not prescriptions for fundraising.
But really, her creativity, added so much. So some of you might remember the walkathon last year. Gift bags continued for most of our major holidays. We now had to figure out how to deliver them instead of having people pick them up. We're in the midst of Count Your Blessings, which was a big hit last year and generated very record amounts for the Temple, and the High Holiday Well-Wish notes as well. So amazingly, in a difficult year, Fran was able to exceed the plan in the budget for fundraising, and thank you to all the members who are watching tonight or here tonight for making those donations. But we'll welcome you back, Fran, and with your peer Sheldon for another year. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts. Don't look now, but you are reinstalled. And I'm also reinstalling Dahlia, who is our official Temple mascot and my personal mascot. Michael Singer, will you please come on up to thank Hal Torman, who is once again continuing as our wonderful Temple treasurer. Hal, please rise.
Well, this is a pleasure to do this again, Hal. Need my reading glasses now. So I spent some time thinking about Hal and his role as treasurer, and I was looking for something wise and witty, and perhaps something witty to say. So I turned to my friend Google. If it's on the internet, it must be true. Turns out there is an accounting historian's journal, and within the journal, a 2003 article on the internal controls in the Talmud, the Jerusalem Temple. Who would have thought that there was a system for an accountant of internal controls in the ancient Jerusalem Temple? This far-reaching enterprise involved an extensive system of tracking sacrificial offerings, management of 3 annual pilgrimages, a court system, and maintenance of a priestly class. The annual process of collecting half shekels and other donations, withdrawals from the temple treasury, and the sale of libations. Getting some ideas here? The Talmud described numerous internal controls, how donations were segregated according to their specific purposes. The donation chests were shaped with small openings to prevent theft. When making withdrawals from the temple treasury, the priest treasurer was required to wear specific clothing to prevent misappropriation of assets. I think of your monthly reports, how you've contributed to the temple finances, the refinancing of the temple mortgage, the PPP loan forgiveness programs, two of them no less, how you bring the entire temple membership up to speed with your presentations at the general meetings, your loose change slide, that's got to be the best slide for highlighting the key points of the presentation. You could almost glaze over the profit and loss statements. The many different ways you've streamlined and modernized our TSE accounts. So much for what you do now mimics what they did so long ago taking care of the Jerusalem temple. With e-banking and QuickBooks, accounting must be easier than in the temple days. Certainly not having to track the sacrificial offerings must be a modern-day benefit. What I really want to know is, what are your plans about your wardrobe? Will you adopt the ancient custom of specific clothing when you are writing the temple checks? Hal, thank you for everything that you do.
Mazel tov, Hal. I can't wait to see the wardrobe change. Maybe Michael will have to provide you with the appropriate attire. So, Bob Eisenstein, I'd like to invite you and Jeff Nussbaum to come on up. Bob will thank Jeff as our continuing financial secretary, and Jeff will thank Bob as our incredible vice president of House.
Robert Eisenstein has now completed his second year on the Temple Board as Vice President for House. Bob, you continue to amaze us in what you have accomplished taking care of our temple buildings and grounds. Leading House continues to be so much more than snow removal and maintaining the heat. In the past year, he has completed the new lobby entrance with a bonus of a new lawn, beautiful landscaping, and even an irrigation system. The social hall has a new floor, new paint, and new ceiling tiles. The bathrooms now have reliable hot water, and improved heat is in the works. Behind the scenes, Bob continues to keep all of our buildings in good repair, taking care of furnace breakdowns, fussy thermostats, and water leaks. There's a new hot water heater in the nursery school building and a modernized electrical panel. Our alarms have been upgraded for safety and building code compliance. The list of improvements is long, and so is his list of plans, including an upgraded sanctuary exit and nursery school doors. As in last year, Bob may say that he didn't do all this. He just organized it. But Bob made it happen. Bob found the volunteers, worked with the donors, and hired the contractors. His energy has been amazing, and he does it all with such a cooperative spirit. Now that we are holding services in person, it is so nice to be able to experience all of the improvements that Bob has driven. Thank you very much, Bob, and welcome back to the board.
So what Jeff was too modest to mention is his role in all of this, because he and I have worked closely together for 2 years now, and it has been my total pleasure to be able to rely on him for good advice on all manner of subjects. When I took over this job 2 years ago now, I was really daunted by the long list of, the punch list of things that needed to be done to bring the temple up to snuff. But Jeff has been a constant source of good advice at every turn. He always has solutions that I at least didn't think of, and has been an enormous resource to me and to the temple. So, Jeff, thank you very much for all of that.
We can't thank both of you enough for all of the really incredible work you have done and contributions you have made to the temple on so many levels. And Jeff, I wanted to add personally that you have the unenviable job of collecting dues and making sure that everybody pays their dues on time, and worrying about those you haven't heard from and figuring out ways to reach out to them. And it seems like you always have the financial well-being of the temple from the membership perspective on your back. So I really also greatly appreciate all that you've done from the temple on that level. And Bob, I never in a million years would have imagined that I would be having to speak to the vice president of House almost every day about some building issue. But we speak, I'd say on the average maybe once a day or once every other day or something. A ridiculous amount of time, but because you're doing an unbelievable amount for our congregation, as Jeff said. So thank you both incredibly for all that you do. And I hereby declare you both reinstalled. I'd now like to invite Dan Weidman, incoming recording secretary, to please rise. Dan, I don't know how you got away with not being on the board all these years. But now that you've been sucked in, now that you've agreed to be on the board, I know that this is the beginning of a very long and fruitful association with our temple leadership. And when I used to install people to this position, I would say that we wish you fast handwriting and legible penmanship, but now I think it might be more accurate to say that we wish you an accurate dictation app. So record these words. You are installed. Mazel tov. You may be seated. I'd now like to invite our outgoing religious school co-chair Karen Eichenbaum to come up and speak about Jen Snyder, continuing on as our amazing religious school co-chair. Jen, please rise.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for the wonderful words that you said about me earlier. But what I think people don't realize is that we weren't really co-chairs. I don't see us split 50-50. I see it more of you taking on almost everything. For those who know Jen, she has lists for lists. She is amazing at multitasking. She will send me a text saying, in a meeting, comma, walking Rosie, and then I'll get an email with contracts to look over. She will ask me to proofread things. I don't know where you find the time. Without you, the religious school would not be as functioning as smoothly as it is. You help figure out where students in classes will be, the right configuration of classes. You help me figure out reopening committee issues around COVID. Now, you had mentioned earlier about the TSE in a box. What people fail to realize is that Jen and I will be talking about a holiday, and the next thing I know, she'll say, "Up, ordered." This is what I mean by multitasking. We will be having a conversation, and the next thing I know, everything will be ordered either through Amazon or Oriental Trading. That's how fast she is on the computer. So you take an idea and you run with it. And because of that, our students have supplies, and they have crafts, and they have fun. And speaking of these boxes that we gave out, everything would be 3 months at a time. So as you can imagine, what Jen is ordering as we're speaking. We spent many of nights at my house with all the doors and windows open in the cold, assembling these so all the students would have them. Jen also gave up a lot of time on the weekends making sure that we can get these supplies in these boxes to the parents for the children. When I spoke to Jen about my limitations going forward due to issues that I know that I can't help you as much as you need going forward, so that was one of the reasons why I stepped down from the position. Jen's first comment was, "Well, what about the children? what are we going to do? So, we found someone to take my place, someone, I'm not sure, you're going to get into that, so I'm not going to say anything, but someone that we had a lot of fun with, and I know that she will be as equally helpful to you as you were to me, and vice versa. You were amazing to work with. You had my back 100% of the time. And I just want to thank you for being you. And our kids are in amazing hands going forward next year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Marissa Leppo, will you please rise? Incoming religious school co-chair. That anonymous person Karen was referring to. Everybody turn around and look at Marissa. Marissa is not known to many of you because she's been very involved in our religious school, and her children are very, very young. They're in the second grade and kindergarten. But Marissa has been extremely active in the religious school committee for over a year now, and she's done a lot behind the scenes also to help create, to be on site here when we needed her, as well as on the planning stage. So Marissa, we can't thank you enough for stepping up to take on this important role. You represent that crucial segment of our community, the growing number of families with young children. You have jumped in numerous times this past year to help with programming and crafts, often with little notice. We are very, very excited to have you join our ranks, and I wanted to thank Hazel, Alice, and Greg for letting us share you. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, you are both installed. Mazel tov. And now my pleasure to install Kim Major as our incoming LJL chair. Kim is no stranger to the board, to say the least. She served as Temple president for at least 2 years, as well as being on many, many committees. She had to take a huge step back when her daughter Eliza got sick, and it was a crazy year. But I skipped a page. Throughout Eliza's illness, she was able to attend Talmud Talk and adult ed programs. So now I'm happy to say that she is ready and able to rejoin us as LJL chair. We all look forward to having her back on the board. So Mazel Tov, Kim, you are reinstalled. Now I'd like to invite Val Jacobs to come up to speak about Ellen Finkelman, our wonderful continuing religious school and ritual chair. And I'd like to invite Ellen Finkelman to come up and thank Val Jacobs, our amazing continuing membership chair. And you might notice that I keep using the words wonderful and amazing because it's true. So come on up.
It's my pleasure to be thanking Ellen for her many contributions to the board, as well as to the entire Temple Shalom Emeth community. As chair of the Religious and Ritual Committee, Ellen, with the support of the Rabbi, guides our committee's work to ensure that holidays such as Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hanukkah, Purim, Passover are spiritually meaningful, as well as being organized perfectly. This is a significant undertaking, which has been especially true during these past few COVID years. Ellen has also guided the R&R committee as we work with the reopening committee to reopen the sanctuary for in-person Shabbat services. In-person services combined with the Rabbi's live streaming of Shabbat services has expanded our sense of community at a time when many of us are craving community more than ever. I'm tempted to thank Ellen for her tireless efforts in coordinating and sponsoring of our in-person grab-and-go Onigs, but I'm going to wait for next year to do that. I'm not going to thank you for that this year. I'll wrap up by thanking Ellen for her work on the Social Justice Committee, the Reopening Committee, as well as being our resident chef and hosting our Sisterhood Zoom cooking classes from her home kitchen. Thank you, Ellen, for all that you contribute to our community, and a personal thank you from me for your kind and supportive friendship, which was born right here at Temple Shalom Emeth.
Val, I want to thank you for all you do for Temple Shalom Emeth as membership and outreach chair. Your willingness to give so freely of your time and talent, especially your ability to talk to people, is so greatly appreciated. It takes a special person to relate so easily to others and to make them feel comfortable and so welcomed. Your efforts make such a difference to our temple community. And I want to thank you again for always going the extra mile. It is so appreciated. You have so excelled in this position for the past many years, and I have every confidence that this year will be no different. So I'm so pleased that you are continuing in this capacity, and I really value our friendship too.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Val.
So thanks both of you again for being wonderful leaders of our community. And also people who I bother on a pretty much a daily basis. And Val, I also wanted to thank you and Fran as co-sisterhood representatives to the board. We hope that in the year ahead we will find ways to have in-person programs and revitalize this important group in our community. Too late, you're in. And also thank you to Val for chairing our nominating committee this year, which is never an easy task, but you did it so graciously and efficiently. And now I'd like to reinstall Michael Singer and Sheldon Cooperman as co-brotherhood presidents. It's been a crazy year, and the pandemic put a damper on in-person activities. I'm still waiting for the date for this brotherhood service for this past year, but we're looking forward to having that service next year and more. So Mazel Tov, you are reinstalled. At this point, I'd like to thank a few people who are not on the board but deserve thanks. First of all, I wanted to thank Richard and Mark for all that you do in supporting Ellen and Val and everything that they do for the temple and offering so much advice as well. Mindy Stanley, would you please rise? Mindy is our amazing bar mitzvah tutor and much, much more. You worked so very hard this year preparing 6 students who had their services 6 weeks in a row. You showed up at their houses in the middle of the pandemic or met them at the temple. You tutored even when you were not feeling well. You have come to the temple early on so many occasions, including tonight, just to open the building to help those families out. You ushered at every single bar mitzvah service and many this evening, including tonight's service. You have been here almost every single Friday night and help out in every way you possibly can, in whatever way is needed in our congregation. As a member of the Religious and Ritual Committee, you have helped us navigate COVID this year and help figure out how to keep us going. And for some reason, the only thing you avoided doing was being on the board. So Mazel Tov for everything. I can't install you, but thank you. And Tina Torman, will you please rise? Tina, I just wanted to thank you also for everything that you do for our congregation. And every time somebody is in need, I know that you are the one I can call, and you will immediately respond and call those who are in mourning or call those who are sick and make sure that everybody who's ill or in a very bad way has all the resources that they need to feel supported by our community. So thank you very, very much. Also, you've avoided being on the board, but you are the chair of our Temple Chicken Soup Brigade. So I reinstall you as Chicken Soup Brigade chair, and thank you again for all you do. Mazel Tov. And where's Andy? Oh, well, I wanted to also thank Andy Rittenberg for all the amazing things that he does, and well, maybe he needs to stay out there. You have to switch places with him. I just wanted to thank, he'll watch this, I just wanted to thank Andy Rittenberg for really doing an amazing job as a security committee co-chair, and he's out in the parking lot, not only right now, guarding the temple and making sure everything is okay, but he watches our security cameras all the time, and every time anything suspicious is possibly happening, he runs right down here or contacts somebody, and the amount of hours he puts into helping out is really incredible. Not to mention the fact that he's Bob's right-hand man, and the two of them work on almost every single project here at the temple together. So from painting to fixing things to working on the router, every single aspect of our congregation. So I really, really wanted to thank Andy for everything that he does as well. Ben Silver, will you please rise? Ben, as always, you have continually gone out of your way to help us musically. This year, having the extra challenge of figuring out how to teach music for half the year on Zoom and half the year in person. And you even substituted for Ben E. one week to teach a class in person. And you've always, as usual, rolled with all the punches that I've thrown your way. If I decide to write a new song, you're always happy to come in and do the craziest things that I ask you to do. Your caring, goodness, kindness, flexibility, easygoing nature, and open-mindedness helps to set a wonderful tone for our congregation. I gratefully reinstall you as our cantorial soloist. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, it wouldn't be an installation service without once again installing our temple matriarch, Phyllis Burlow. Will you please rise?
I sat very quietly thinking she'd forget.
No, I'm sorry, I would never forget that. Phyllis Burlow holds numerous positions in our congregation. In addition to being our official temple matriarch, she is our band keyboardist, sub for Ben, our most loyal service attender, advice giver, cheerleader, and general imparter of wisdom. You are once again installed as all of the above. L'chaim, you are installed. And now I would like to invite Andy Feit to come over to thank our wonderful continuing first Vice President, Jeremy Kasanoff. Jeremy, would you please rise?
Thank you. So, Jeremy, you've heard everybody tonight talk about the challenge of reopening. And the first vice president definition in the bylaws says nothing about dealing with pandemics. But Jeremy took this task on and did an incredible job of understanding the science. You know, should we be tracking positivity rates or caseloads and everything else around that? The whole reopening committee, originally we thought, well, we'll have a reopening committee, we'll reopen and we'll be done. It did not go that way, as you all know. You heard about religious school opening, closing, opening again, virtual, on-premise. You know, it just really was an incredible challenge to do that. And we've been meeting literally every 3 weeks over the last several months as we began to prepare for this B'nai Mitzvah season with 6 weeks in a row of welcoming new adults into our community. How would those experiences look? And we were at a very challenging time as we began looking at this with Omicron billowing in January and February, and people saying, how many people can I have at my bat mitzvah, right, Eden? You know, the guest list being a challenge to manage. And Jeremy just did it so well, communicating with all the families, working with Cello on legal issues, and with the board in general on everything else. He's also done a couple of other things, which are, again, not in the first vice president definition, but when Michael might have to miss a meeting, trying to get 15 or 17 people in on one Zoom call the same night of a week was not always easy. And if Michael had to miss one, Jeremy was the first to volunteer and say, I'll be the substitute secretary tonight, and I appreciate that help. Recording all the notes and minutes. And Dan, I shouldn't have told you that, but you have a backup if you can't make one. But the last thing I think Jeremy really brings to the role that I very much appreciate is he is an active member of the temple with things going on with family and religious school and understanding all the issues. And when we have our board meetings, Jeremy always brings a very valuable point of view to every discussion. It's like many of us are past kids, our kids are moved away or having kids of their own and all kinds of different things going on. But Jeremy's right in the middle of all of that and with his family and he just brings that special note to the discussions of, but wait a second, what about this? And none of us were thinking about it. And so I really do appreciate that you bring that, and I look forward to continuing to work with you this year.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. Oh.
Jeremy, you are officially reinstalled. Don't think I was going to forget that. And thank you for all of your help and all the advice you've given me through all these months of trying to figure all of this out. Andy.
One more installation.
One more. I confess that I was afraid that it might be a little bit too much of a stretch for you to be Temple President, not to mention our communications person. After all, you live an hour and a half away. You're ridiculously busy at work. You just flew in from Washington last night, drove back to the Cape, then drove all the way up here for tonight's service, after which you're going to drive all the way back to the Cape again. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
And no one could have predicted last year at this time that you would become a grandfather and that your grandson was in way too much of a rush to be born, leading to months of additional stress on top of everything else. With all of that, you've set an amazing tone for our congregation. Your social intelligence and great people skills enable you to make our monthly board meetings a pleasure. You have the ability to gain consensus among the board, no matter how complicated the issue. Just in the past month, we talked about how we needed to make a bylaw change, but you insisted to look at all the bylaws and update the entire document. Despite my many apprehensions, you succeeded in getting the whole board, then the whole general membership, to approve all of them without hardly any controversy. Despite the fact that you were rarely able to be here in person, you have been totally committed to our community. You've responded to and helped strategize how to resolve every issue, no matter how late at night or worse, early in the morning we had to discuss it. No matter how overwhelmed you were with work, you always found the time to work on the announcements each week together with me, which was a wonderful way for us to communicate and keep in touch about all temple activities. I couldn't be happier that you are our temple president. You have definitely kept us on track, moving forward and living up to our best selves, and made all of us feel good about it. You are hereby officially reinstalled. Mazel tov to you and all of us. You may speak.
I may speak. I get a few
speak.
comments. Thank you. So my first year as president of Temple Shalom Emeth has been a bit of a mix of part exactly what I was expecting, and many things that I was not. And we entered this year with the hope of returning to normal. Vaccines had just become readily available. Most of us were getting them if we could. And then Omicron hit, and it seemed like we had to start all over again. The reopening committee under Jeremy's leadership, met much more regularly than planned. We had to adapt to all kinds of changing situations. I really thank the whole reopening committee for the work that they've done. The religious school, as was mentioned earlier, had just a super flexible, the Gumbies of religious school in terms of we're in person, no, we're in Zoom, oh, we're back in person. Let's try and take advantage of as much as we could. And having class Shabbats and different festivals, even while trying to balance that. And so I thank Jen and Karen both tremendously for the efforts to keep all that on track. We stole lots of what I was going to say about Bob, but the temple infrastructure, the temple grounds are in the best shape they've ever been in the history of the temple. The new floors, ceilings, paint in between, and everything you don't see. I need a Bob for my home. I don't know how maybe the next bylaw change, can I put in, must also maintain the president's residence?
No, just the rabbi.
The rabbi's residence, she says. Okay, but we all do very much appreciate everything that Bob does as well.
Get in line.
Get in line. One of the things that allowed us to do a lot of those changes this year was some anonymous donations, and tonight I'm going to name all the people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you who made those donations, but it really, made it so much easier. The landscaping, we didn't have to figure out how to pay for these things. The social hall floor, if you've ever done that in your own home, you know what it costs. And these anonymous donors that have been helping us. And one of the things that happened this year that a pleasant surprise, again, could not have expected it, but towards the end of last year, we had an anonymous donor step up with $65,000 in honor of the rabbi, not even a temple member currently. They had been in the past, but and this, to fund a number of different things for social justice, scholarships, building improvements. This, along with the news of both of our PPP loans being forgiven, just left us in a very strong position financially. And as a president, one of the things you're thinking about is, I don't want to be raising dues right now. How am I going to balance this budget? Working with Jeff and Hal and managing all the numbers. Knowing that there's this cushion that is there because of these donations allows us to do a lot of the things that we couldn't do otherwise. As the rabbi said, the amendments to the bylaws were adopted. I'm so excited that social justice, which has been an important part of this congregation for well before I got here, but I've certainly seen it with the anti-racism webinar series that we did, 6 different events on different topics of how we can be more active in reaching out. And now this weekend, in fact, going on to do a gun violence march. There's just so much that we do as a community, as a temple, that comes from social justice, and elevating that in the bylaws to a board level position and naming Phyllis Neufeld as the chair is, I'm very, very, very happy about. And I expect great things to continue. It really is, you saw this tonight, our board, we like each other. We're generally, there are times where we have discussions about, we don't all agree on anything, we have to get there. But everybody really does work well together, and I'm just honored to be able to just lead that without, most of these people are here before me, and they continue on, and the new members, we look forward to having you join us and contribute in your own way. But it really is a wonderful group that is committed to making this temple as great as it can be. And I feel, another year of trying to do that. I'll try to be up here more now that we're getting back to in person. I do work about 5 miles from here, but the office has been closed. So part of the challenge is convincing myself that I can stay up here for a few days and get some work done. But I'll hopefully be doing that. So it really is a pleasure to work with the whole board, with the rabbi, with the cantor. And, I want to thank one other person who's not here tonight, and that is Shelley Rosenbaum-Lippman, our past president. That is a board position. When you are past president, you're still on the board till the next president gets brought in. So she has just been a guiding force for me in understanding, how to run meetings, how to keep calendars on schedule, just everything. She does a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't see, as well as her role on the Security Committee. And I want to thank Shelley, even in her absence here tonight. She could not be here. Just made my first year that much easier. So there's 2 other things that are not board level positions, 2 other people who I'd like to thank right now. So they're not board positions, but they're very important for the temple. And one of them is the rabbi. She doesn't get a vote in the boards, but she's on every board call. Often she and I will be talking ahead of that call and planning for how do we want to approach this and who do we need to get. And so we want to say thank you for being a non-official board member. And then our Cantorial soloist, Ben Silver, who, as Rabbi stole the thunder, is definitely an extended member of the board because of the role that he plays in everything, in religious and ritual, obviously all of our services, in the religious school, in terms of working with the kids on music every week, coming in early and scanning the temple to make sure it all looks safe. Ben does so much more. So the 2 people behind me are really here with me, and I feel like it makes it a pleasure to run, to be president of this temple, to know that the leadership at the clergy level is so strong. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you. There's nothing anywhere. So Andy, I actually got this for you, I think, as a Hanukkah present. But since I haven't seen you, it's now serving 2 purposes as a thank you for your first year as temple president. So I'd now like to invite the whole board to please rise. I invite you all to receive the blessing which Aaron bestowed upon his sons, the priests, which is also in this week's Torah portion, the priestly benediction. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God cause his light to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's countenance to you and grant you peace. Amen. Mazel tov. And now I'd like to invite two more people to rise, Rhea and Eden. I also wanted to, everybody else keep still, up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Everybody else sit down, please. Rhea and Eden, since you're both here this evening, I wanted to officially install you as adults at Temple Shalom Emeth in honor of your bat mitzvah. So mazel tov. And I would like to invite you both to come on up and open the doors of the Ark Curtain as we continue with the Elena on page 586. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach ba'adon hakol, latei gidula yotzer b'reshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kichol hamonam, va'anachnu borim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated, and we're going to continue on page 591 since we're way beyond our time.
Shall I do the...
Sure.
And please join with me in our contemporary version of Bayom Hahu. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד אחד ושמו אחד אחד ושמו
We now continue with the Kaddish prayer, the introduction on page 599. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Call those whose yahrzeits or anniversary of whose deaths occurred this week. Leonard Abramson, Olin Alton, Alvin Kovitz, Ryan Kane, Pauline Siegel, Elizabeth Wright, Hy Zelkowitz. And at this time, if there are names of others you'd like us to keep in our hearts and our minds, we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer. You may say their names aloud or in your hearts as I look across the room. We think of all of those who have died of COVID in the past week, month, and year. We think all of those who have died during the past day, week, or month in Ukraine, as well as other conflicts around the world. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We turn to page 598 as we recite the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, b'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us, to our country, to Ukraine, to all Israel and all the world, as we say together, Amen. You may be seated. And now this is the first time, and I can't remember how long. You want to give announcements?
You can do it now.
I forgot to mention that this is something that the temple president does.
And so
Sorry.
There's a bat mitzvah tomorrow.
Thank you. Good job. Keep going.
There's a march tomorrow for those not going to the bat mitzvah or afterwards.
Afterwards.
All
right.
There's a pride celebration in Burlington on the, I have no idea what date.
Okay.
26th.
Thank
That's
you.
about all I have for you.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Good job. I would like to congratulate the Snyders on Eden's bat mitzvah tomorrow, and it's so great to have so many of you here this evening. And we know that Eden is going to do an amazing job, as you could see this evening. Already did an amazing job. And also, I just wanted to mention that first of all, congratulations again. I think we've said the word congratulations way too much this evening. Thanks for the beautiful flowers. And next Friday night was going to be the Bernard Nelson service, but we've postponed that to the fall. However, we are going to have our first ever Pride Shabbat service in honor of Pride Month. So we just recently made that decision. So I hope that you can join us for that special occasion. And it will also include our first music service, our first in-person band music service in a really long time. So hope you can be there for both of those reasons as well. And thank you to Ellen Finkelman for baking the challah for us this evening. So with that, we're going to continue with the Kiddush on pages 122 and 123. I would like to invite Howard to come on up, Howard Snyder to come on up and lead us in the Kiddush. The Kiddush cup's over there. Please rise. The bottom of 122.
The heaven and
This is
earth.
about 122. Oh, okay. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho, v'yahava uvratzon, inchilanu, Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, Kihu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, Zecher yitziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, Yotanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, Yava uvratzon, Inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Very impressive.
And Mazel Tov.
You may be seated, and I would like to invite Eden and her cousins and Rhea and Jacob. Come on up to hold the challah. Just
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Great job, you guys. You can put the challah back, and Eden, why don't you close the doors of the ark? You may be seated. And by the way, I also wanted to thank Vanessa Vinarub, who's also behind the scenes, totally behind the scenes. I forgot to thank her earlier. She is in charge of Jewish Family Table, and she's the one who we bring boxes of cereal every month. And please, the next time you come, we need more boxes of cereal. So she brings every single month. She brings 40 boxes of cereal from our congregation to Jewish Family Table in Waltham. So Vanessa, thank you for all that you do as well. And for our closing song, let's join together and sing Heveinu Shalom Aleichem. And it's a contemporary version. It also includes words to Hinei My Tov in the middle of it. And all these words are at the top of page 644, if you are not familiar with it. And please shake along. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Heveinu Shalom. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Heveinu Shalom. Hinei ma tov u'manayim bebet ahim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Heveinu Shalom. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Heveinu, Aleichem Heveinu, Aleichem Heveinu Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Mazel Tov.